Hi, my name's James Coursier and thank you for joining us today. Today, what I want to do is I want to go through what actually is the money paradox. Now, I get this question a lot, and probably because that is the name of my business and also the name of a book that I'll be bringing out next year. So, what is the money paradox? Well, before I answer that, first thing I want to tell you is that not many people know this, but I actually grew up in a very poor background. Now, I've gained great financial success, both personally and professionally, but along that way, I saw a lot of family, friends, others that, quite frankly, really struggled in the area of money. A lot of these people came from wealthier backgrounds and often were making more money early on in my career. So, at the time, I just couldn't understand why this happened. But it wasn't until much later on in my life that I started to realize. And that's where I came to understand what this paradox is. Now, this money paradox is why it is so easy to become financially free, and yet so few do. Because if you look at the numbers, it's very easy to become financially free. But when you see the statistics, very few ever get there. So why do we have this discrepancy? Why do we have this paradox between what is possible and what actually happens in practice? Well, there's a lot of reasons, and in further videos, I'll go through this and explain a lot of these and the root of a lot of these. But for now, what I want to do is I want to give you 3 key examples just to illustrate the point. Well, the first one is that money is a taboo. If you think about it, it's very difficult for a lot of people to have conversations in this area. It's just not something you do. It's quite controversial if you start talking about the subject of money. So what happens is we just don't talk about it. If we don't talk about it, we don't mature in our understanding. We don't evolve in how we think about it. So if you think about it, if on a daily basis you're talking about the subject of money with other people, right? You're talking about what's going well, what's not going well, how they do with money, how that compares to what you're doing. Then through those conversations, you'll evolve in your thinking, you'll evolve in your understanding, and you'll improve that area. Now, what happens for most people is the contrary, the opposite. We don't like to talk about what we think we're not allowed to, so we don't talk about it with our family, we don't talk about it with friends, we don't talk about it with our colleagues at work. And so the limited knowledge that we have never really improves, never gets better. We don't know whether it's good, whether it's bad, and it kind of builds up inside of us, right? Not only that, but because we're not talking about it, we don't think about it as much. Because we don't think about it as much, we don't question and challenge how we're doing, whether we're doing well, whether we're not. What could we do differently? What could we do better to improve our situation? So that taboo aspect of money can really limit us and keep us from moving forward and improving all the way up to what's needed to become truly financially free and not just chasing that paycheck to paycheck or covering what we need to live, to survive, or to pay off those debts that we may have, and really just being caught in quite a limited position for the subject of money. Now, the second one is all around the subject of education. Right? Think about it. Most people, in fact, I'd say almost everyone, has very limited education in the subject of money. If you look at the traditional schooling system, primary school, secondary school, hell, even university, you just don't learn about the subject of money. And if you do, it's very academic or very linked to kind of professional side of money. So accounting, for example, or very simple maths, right? Maths from a pure subject. When have you ever sat down and actually learned about how to improve yourself or improve in the subject of money, personal finances, right? So how to understand how to improve on what you need, how to understand what's coming in, what's going out, what you need to put in place to be in a more abundant place when it comes to money, to be more financially sound and stronger in that position, okay? So the trouble is, if we don't ever really learn that subject, how do we ever feel we're going to improve, grow, and get better? We just simply aren't. It's going to be very difficult, right? So what tends to happen is people kind of muddle through, learn little bits from what they hear, what they see on the internet, and kind of get by. So, if you talk to a lot of people on often quite simple subjects when it comes to money, it's quite surprising how little people know. Even when you talk about mortgages or how to all the various things you can do with banks and so on, it's good, but it's not great considering how complex this area is. Nowadays, whether we like it or not, we live in a very complex society when it comes to money. Now, don't get me wrong, we can very much simplify that, and I'm a big advocate of that. But this is not an area we can avoid and just distract from. We really need to understand it, otherwise it will be a huge limiter in our lives, right? So if you're not on top of how your bank is working, mortgages, whether you've got loans or debts, how they work, how you need to manage those, then this is going to be a huge blocker in your life, right? So education is absolutely key. If we're not educating ourselves, okay, then we aren't going to grow, we aren't going to progress and know and learn what we need to know to become more abundant in this area, to become financially free. Now, the third one is all about lack of focus. So whenever I ask people, do you want to be financially free? Then, most people say, yeah, I do. And actually, this area was very well described in a talk that I went to by a chap called Dr. Demartini. Now, I don't know whether a lot of you watching this have heard of him. I'm sure a few of you have. He's very big within the personal development bit. And when I was at this talk, halfway through the talk, he looked out at the audience and he said, guys, hands up here if you want to be financially free. Now, naturally, 99% of the room put their hand up. Then he paused for a second and said, look, I've got to be honest. Most of you here are not going to be financially free. Why do I know that? Because you're simply not consistently focused on this area and working towards it. Now, this all comes down to the fact of the difference between what are our values and what are our goals. So, if I like the idea of being financially free, like a lot of other people, then, I might think it's a good idea, right? I might even put a goal there. I might say, I want to be financially free in a year's time. Yes, I really want that. But if I'm not consistently working towards that on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, I'm simply just not going to get that. It's fact, right? This isn't something that we trip over if we just visualize it. This is something that needs to be worked towards, just like anything else. It's not hard, but it needs consistency. It needs a focus on what is financial freedom, what is it for me, what do I need to get there, what are the things I need to have in place in my life to be able to get that. And once I've got those things in place, how do I actually then go and get it? What is it specifically? What do I need to do this year, next year, this week, next month? Those kind of things, right? So this isn't something that we can just kind of get from setting a goal. We need to be consistently working towards it. And when I said the difference between values and goals, this is a subtle point, but it's a really important one. And this, if you're someone sitting there and you found yourself in that situation where you've set yourself a goal and you just don't achieve it, you get so frustrated. You may even set it again. No, next month I'm going to achieve this, or next year I'm going to achieve this. You put it down, you write it. You may even do some steps to work towards it, but you just don't get there. Well, this all comes down to this difference between what is your values and what are your goals, right? And if these aren't aligned, it's going to cause a lot of issues and it's going to prevent you from achieving your goals. So values is kind of like, the way I describe it is it's your prioritization system. So if you think about it, right now, you're watching this video. Well, you could be doing a whole host of different things, over 1,000 different things you could be doing right now, but you're watching this video. Let me ask you this question. Why are you watching this video? Well, you're probably watching this video because you feel you're going to get from this video something very high on your prioritization list. Okay, so you could be eating right now, you could be watching TV right now, you could be talking to a friend right now, you could be doing anything. And all of these things, right, in any given moment, it's going to give us different things, or we feel it's going to give us different things. And the thing on the options list that we feel is at the highest, i.e. is going to give us more, that's the thing that we're going to pursue naturally. Unless we really push hard to override it. And we can, but it's very hard to do that consistently, okay? So if you aren't consistently achieving a goal, it's because the reality of that goal in your mind is low on your value list, okay? So, for example, if you really want to be financially free, and it might even be a goal on your list, right, of what you're working towards, if deep down you genuinely don't believe you're going to get there, okay, because you don't feel you have enough value to give to be able to become financially free, you don't feel smart enough, you feel too old, whatever the reason is, whatever the limiting belief is, if you have that, what happens is your mind kind of deep down thinks, well, I can't achieve this, and therefore, why would I spend time, right? Why would I work hard or kind of effort to get there, right? Get some kind of pain, some kind of negative effect to get something or work towards something that I don't believe I'm going to get. And so deep down, subconsciously, your mind puts that low on the priority list because the cost versus the benefit doesn't make sense to you. In fact, why don't I just watch TV right now, okay, or go on social media or whatever else it is that you're using to avoid what is potentially a goal that you have. Those things have a clear cost-benefit analysis. You have a clear benefit, a clear value you're getting relative to what the cost is. Okay, so let's take a step back here. Key here is lack of focus. Okay, so if you are working, if you like the idea of becoming financially free, but you aren't consistently working towards it, you aren't going to get there. So the next question is then, why are you not consistently working towards it? Well, usually the reason is that it's low down on our value list. Okay, so if that's the case, you really want to understand why that is happening. Okay, so if financial freedom you believe is important to you, okay, but you're not working towards it, think about what it is that's the blocker. What is it that's preventing you from having it high on your value list, and change that, move it up the value list, and you'll see yourself being drawn to working towards that on a consistent basis and not having to constantly push yourself, to force discipline with yourself to work towards it. Okay, so to summarize, I've given you 3 reasons there. 1, okay, money is a taboo. 2, lack of education in this area. And 3, lack of focus. All right, those are 3 examples, and in further videos I'll be going through a number of other areas, but I hope that illustrates the point. So now you know 3 examples of why this paradox exists. Now what? So what is the question, right? Well, once you know what some of the reasons are that causes this, then we can make sure, we can be the masters of making sure this doesn't happen in our own life. Okay, so let's run through them. So the first one was, what was it? It was money is a taboo. Okay, well, let's make sure the subject of money is not a taboo in our life. Okay, so I encourage you to go out and talk to family, talk to friends about the subject of money, and break the concept of money being a taboo. To be honest, it doesn't serve you, it doesn't serve other people. Money is a hugely important area. It is not everything in life, but it is certainly important. It is a tool to improve so many, in fact, most other areas of your life. It's all about seeing money no more or no less for what it is. Just see it for what it actually is, okay? So money is useful, right? In this, whether we like it or not, we live in a capitalist world, and money is fundamental to how we live. So by its very nature, it's something important to talk about. So I encourage you to go out, talk to family, talk to friends, talk to colleagues, potentially, if you feel brave enough, to talk about the subject of money. And through that, get thinking about it, mature your understanding, involve in your understanding in the subject of money, and challenge where you're doing well, where you're not doing well, and see where you can improve yourself in this area of money by talking to people. Okay? Second one is around lack of education. You're sitting there thinking, yeah, I have never really learned anything about the subject of money, or I have a little bit, but not a huge amount. Well, I encourage you to go out and change that. So learn. There is a huge amount of information out there on the internet. You can listen to further videos from myself. I do workshops, presentations, but there are a whole host of different avenues out there in which you can learn about this subject. So get hungry, get curious about this area, and educate yourself in the area of money. And you'll be surprised at how well you can do in this area. The third one is all around lack of focus. Well, I hinted at this, kind of how we can improve in this area within the explanation of what I meant by lack of focus. But for this, it's all about not just having in mind that we want to be financially free, that we want to do well financially. It's about knowing what it is that can make us be pulled in this direction to want to do well in this area of money. And the best way of doing that is to see what the impact is. So if you think about it, what is it that you want from your life? Okay, that is a really key question. Because if you don't know that, then it's very difficult to really drive yourself in any area. So first, what is it that you want from life? Once you get that clear, then think, well, where does money fit into that? What money do I need, or what situation do I need to be in financially to be able to achieve what I actually want from life? Right? Money being a tool. Once we know that, then you're naturally going to be pulled in the direction of getting that, because you know exactly what you want, and you know that money is fundamental to achieving that. That is a really strong way of having that focus, of driving, focusing yourself to achieving it. Once you get that, then it's about consistency. It's about working towards getting that on a weekly, monthly, yearly basis to achieve whatever goals you have in the area of money. So, my advice to you here is think about where are the blockers in your life that's potentially going to cause a money paradox within your own life, and what is it that you can do differently or better going forward to make sure these blockers don't prevent you from getting financial success, and more importantly, financial freedom. So thank you very much. My name is James Coursier, and thank you for joining for me today. Bye-bye.